Alright fam, welcome back to Speed Addicts Garage. I'm Demetrius, and today we are going to continue to work on the all-wheel drive K-powered Civic EG. If you missed the last episode, check the card at the top hand side of the screen where we basically installed the all-wheel drive system. We talk about the drive shaft we use, which differential we use, everything needed and required to install our all-wheel drive kit with the trailing arms and whatnot. This is the second episode where we are going to finish everything up with the fuel system. So let's get into this video. All right, the fuel system upgrades that we will be doing: new gas tank, extra fuel pump for E85, custom lines having to be made, and a custom fuel pump assembly. Let me show you the first item. Yeah! Check out our 15-gallon fuel cell from SPD Performance Parts. It's ionized inside and out. It comes with two -12 and fittings, 0 to 90 ohm fuel sending unit. The bottom ports are also -12 and if you want an external pump. And if you look at the inside, check that out. It's got trap doors. With this system, you don't need any foam. Comes with all the appropriate hardware and cover plates. And of course, it comes with a few fittings. You may have to get some extras depending on your setup. This is the top fuel pump assembly hanger. Very thick construction, PTFE material as far as the gasket goes. And there is where you mount the 3 fuel pumps. Already has the 3 hoses attached, and it has your connections as well. This is nice, man. It comes with the clamps. I already got the clamps set into place to hold the fuel pump, and that's the fuel pump we're using right there. That's your 525 aka Hellcat pump. TI Automotive. Now that you've seen the gas tank we'll be using, let's go ahead and talk about installing it. This right here is what we'll be using to mount our universal gas tank. This is a piece of, I want to say it's 1.5 by 1.5 box steel. It's fairly thick. It's actually overkill, but at the same time, this is what I have in stock. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna run this bar right here, and then we'll run another bar probably from that point all the way across. As you can tell, I had to cope it. You know, this ain't just a flat cut or just a diagonal cut. I had to kind of manipulate it. Basically, make a long story short, I ground a little bit off, came back over here, and I did it about 125 times. So we'll do this one, and then we'll tack it up and bolt up our tank. I got the trimming on that front bar roughed up, but just a side note, I'm taking in consideration of leveling out this tank. From looking at the level, the front part of the tank needs to go down a little bit, so I still need to do a little more trimming. y'all check out the final product. Got all my clearances good. Got my even gap in between here and that strut brace. And the way we got it configured, fuel pump stuff is gonna kind of go this way, down up under the car, over that way. As you can tell, we got our wiring gonna come down through here as well. And then there may be a possibility that we'll go from here to the actual gas tank itself. I'm not sure when or if we will do that, but I got it on this side in case we decide to do something like that. Worst case scenario, open up the hatch, put your fuel in like so. So now that we got the tank installed, let's go to our fuel pump assembly and let me show you how we configured both of our fuel pumps. Hey, how many of y'all have trouble installing these things, man? I mean, I can't stand them. Get them jokers right there lined up. It should push that. There we go. Wow, check out our fuel pump setup. Again, we're using two Walbro 525, aka the Hellcat pumps. Both of these are gonna be more than enough fuel. Of course, this is a 3 or aka a triple pump hanger system. All I did was cap this one off. I had like a blank piece that I put up in there, vacuum line, or is used for vacuum lines. I put a clamp on it. That should fix that. And then I got the orientation of these socks. Now, when I first got these socks, I'm like, why in the world you ain't got a sock that's like, you know, flat, aka 90 degrees, instead it go up? The reason, check inside of that tank. See how the fuel pump sit down in that sump, and that sump kind of has like a gradual, you see how it's kind of got that slope on it? So I got these orientated where they cross each other, but they would fit inside of the bottom of that sump. One thing we're missing the pigtails, so I'm gonna probably have to solder and heat shrink this stuff. And then just to make it simple, you got one lug for ground, 2 for positive. So this is gonna be pump number 1, pump number 2. And then both of these black lines are gonna tie together and then go to that central location there. So all I gotta do is put some yellow eyelets on here, make sure my gauge wire is fuel compatible and the appropriate gauge, and then we can install that. We are done with the wiring side of the fuel pumps. As you can tell, one of the power wires go to one of the positive studs. This other one goes to the other positive stud, and I joined the 2 grounds together, and that's going to the single negative stud. All of these wires right here are fuel compatible. I got these from Racetronics. It's just leftover stock, and I use heat shrink from Kate Services at Hotmail. Hey, I appreciate y'all, Miller Peak. And yes, I got a smile. And then in case y'all cared, this flange and this top lid is 2 pieces, and everything look like it's secured together with O-rings. That look like that's the bowl area where all 3 fuel pumps come to one, and they come out of this outlet. So I'm gonna line all this stuff up and bolt it up with the supplied hardware. All right, fam, a few days have passed. I forget where we left off at, but I think we left off at the fuel tank. Now what's left over is the wiring portion, and let's go over the wiring. Daniel went ahead and purchased 2 of these relay kits made by Diff. There's the part number in case you need it. It's hard to tell because I got it, both the relays mounted at the bottom, but make a long story short, the wiring and the gauge of the wiring is pretty daggone thick. I don't know what it is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 12, maybe even 10 gauge. So I got all that wired up. And the way we got it, we got ignition coming in from the factory fuel pump setup. It comes up, it powers the relays down below. Once it energizes the relay, that relay is gonna send power to fuel pump number 1. So this is gonna be fuel pump number 2. This is gonna be fuel pump number 1. I will show you how we're triggering fuel pump number 2 in a second. And then I got this ground lead coming from the other end of this. So this other end of this goes down to the middle bolt underneath this gas tank, and then it comes up and it grounds out to that. It also came with a fuse kit. Inside of this fuse holder is a 25 amp fuse. Basically drilled out a hole big enough to run both of these lines through with the fittings attached. He had already had a feed and a return set up, so all we did is put a male end on each end of the dash 6 and the dash 8, and then we used a male-to-male adapter to join the two together. It goes across the top of the brace for the front of the differential that we welded up, snakes around here where it will not contact anything, and then you can see how it comes up through the spare tire area on the driver's side. Also off camera, we went ahead and took this all out since we're no longer using it, and that's what it looks like. I'm pretty sure he's gonna go back and make a little blank that goes on with that. So for the secondary fuel pump, what we're gonna use is a momentary switch. I use this on my car to activate 4th gear, but we're gonna use this momentary switch. We're gonna secure it to this piece of stainless that I used as a template, cut out, bent it to shape. And the way it's gonna work, this section is gonna bolt up to the intake manifold. This is gonna bolt up right here. This is the hardware I had to get from Lowe's, number 4. And it's gonna go through there and mount that to that. Also, before we install the switch, let me show you how it works. It has a diagram on the side of it, but you have 3 prongs. One of them is normally closed, one of them is normally open, and then you got COM. All this means is you're gonna have continuity on 2 prongs for normally closed, and then when you make the connection, these 2 prongs is gonna have continuity. So just to show it to you, just to give you a reference, these are the 2 that we want to use because we wanted to send a trigger to the relay when the switch is activated. I got my ohm meter set on ohms, and it's audible ohms, so you'll hear the beep. And this is going to be triggered with something on the throttle body. Let me show it to you. So Daniel's using this Ross Racing or Ross Machine Racing throttle body. And with this throttle body, it's got all of these little openings right here so that you can put, basically you can put the throttle cable in any of these spots that you want. You can orientate it the way you want. What I did is I used a longer bolt that has a long smooth shank on it. I did a nut on this side, a nut on the other side. When I tighten them 2 nuts, it's gonna compress it. I probably put a little Loctite on it because I do not want this thing to come loose. But basically when this thing does its full travel, it's gonna activate that switch. And I'm gonna have this thing bolted up to the 2 bolts right here on the intake, on the inside part of the intake plenum. Check the travel. See? And it's gonna activate the switch just like that. Got that idea from my boy Josh, Underground Garage. Check him out. Just the itty bitty, little bitty, tiny bitty portion of that red Loctite. Hopefully this bolt never come off. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and activate the front switch. Let's see if we can hear the second fuel pump prime. Nope. So let me check up underneath this gas tank. Yeah, so that's ECU signal. So what I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wait for Daniel to get here. I don't wanna keep cycling this fuel pump empty. It ain't gonna hurt nothing, but I would like to wait till we get fuel. And what I'm thinking is that blue wire gets power to prime the fuel system. Once the car is running, of course, that #1 fuel pump is gonna be running. And I bet you that our switch will then work because that one relay will have power going to it. Hey, we'll check you back when Daniel get here. Hey, who am I?
What's his name?
What you call me? You just gonna draw a blank as soon as I cut the camera on? You gonna draw a blank?
What's his name?
The fat guy.
The fab guy, not the fat guy. We've checked over everything. What you say, boy? Now we're ready for the moment of truth. Fire this thing up. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna prime the fuel system, make sure I ain't got any leaks. And then you know what we're gonna do next? We're gonna get all four rolling. All right, we just verified no leaks, 50 PSI base pressure. And you see what he doing. The guy with no emotions has got a big smile on his face. Man, you freaking called it too. Hopefully it's got enough to fire up though.
I am evil pop.
Evil pop?
Yeah.
What's in your mouth? Ew. Fam, as you can see, all-wheel drive is working, but let me show you my custom switch that I have to activate the secondary fuel pump. There is the switch. There is fuel pressure. So, like I told my boy Daniel, before you drive this thing, I want you to check the hardware on this setup. Make sure all these bolts and stuff, any of this stuff ain't moved. And then second, I want him to touch that switch to verify the second fuel pump work. Because at high boost and you need an extra fuel pressure, if that junk don't work, catastrophic failure. First observation, it's a little noisy back there, but we ain't got nothing back there but some BR1 oil and some water. Speaking with S1 built, since that differential is solidly mounted to the chassis, that loud noise is actually normal. But overall, this kit was a success, and what a great way to turn a fast Honda from front wheel drive to all wheel drive to make it even faster. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll check you on the next episode.